Good morning. Good morning, my beautiful friends. This is your wake up call with Maui Paul. I am Maui Paul. We are here today to say some nice things about ourselves. Happy Monday to you. It has been a fantastic weekend for me, and I hope it's been a fantastic weekend for you as well. Good morning, Janet. Good morning, Lauren. Good morning, Shauna. Good morning, Amanda. It is really good to see you guys here today. Yeah, we're gonna do the same thing that we do every day. I'm gonna pull a card off the top of the deck. We're going to affirm together that we are the affirmation on that card, and I'm always really excited to do this. I have a card picked for today that we have not seen in a while, and yet it's just so relevant to my life that it came up today. So let's have some fun and let's pull a card. I'd love to know what happened on your weekend. So my weekend was fairly eventful. Had lots and lots of things go on. I actually had quite a bit of like errands and stuff to do on awesome Saturday. So I went and did that. I got out and about and just out into the world. And as I was out into the world, I was paying attention to like I went out to the over to the outlet mall and not really. I'm not typically in the market to buy hardly anything, but I went out to the outlet mall and I was looking at all the advertisements and I was just kind of listening to the TVs and the stuff and all the mass media that was that you'll find at places like an outlet mall. And as I was just looking at it, I realized just how negative the messaging is and how steeped that people are in that messaging. Just how negative the messaging is about buy this, you're not good enough unless you buy this thing or have this thing, and it's not like the messaging was obviously that. It was just that there was just so much there was so much insinuation that if you don't have this thing or if you don't look this way, then you're somehow not enough. And so I was as I looked at all that stuff over the weekend, and it just reminded me how important work like this is, how important it is for us to be very intentional about being who we are, about saying good things about us, because there's a whole lot of marketers out there who make a whole lot of money to come up with new ways to help us feel like we are somehow discontent unless we have that newest thing. So I'd love to know what good stuff happened with you this weekend. I had a lot of realizations and had a very good personal growth weekend. But for now, let's pull a card off the top of the deck. I'm going to ask you if you are the affirmation on the card. We are going to say out loud, I am that affirmation on the card. We'll write it down in the comments, affirm it for each other, and ultimately bring it with us through our day. So let's have some fun, and let's say that today I am direct. I am direct. I communicate clearly and honestly. So I am direct. I communicate clearly and honestly. Are you direct? You are direct. You communicate clearly and honestly. I'm going to write that down in the chat, that I am direct, that I communicate clearly and honestly. And when I wrote this card up, I was definitely thinking about clear communication. I was definitely thinking about the words that come out of our mouths, because I'm a trained communicator. I'm a trained facilitator, and one of the nuances of communication is that when we communicate with somebody, there is what we say, there's what we mean, and then there's what they hear and what they understand. And so the best that we can do in order to be direct is to mean what we say. But that does not mean that the people who receive our communication are going to interpret it the way that we meant it. There's communication that is expressed, which is what we say, implied, which is what we mean, and understood, which is how they receive it. And so the best that we can do is make sure that what we express and what we imply are the same thing, to give them the maximum opportunity to understand. And so being direct, at least in our communication, is about taking the shortest possible path towards saying the thing that we mean, saying the thing that we need to say, and communicating it in such a way that the people who we are communicating it to have the biggest possible opportunity, the greatest possible opportunity to understand what we are attempting to get across. But being direct has more implications than just communication. And as this card came up this morning, I was thinking about that being direct is also about how we comport ourselves in life, how we, what are the things that we are doing, and are the things that we're doing, are those things effective at accomplishing what we are interested in accomplishing. I was reading a fairly, I wouldn't necessarily call it a white paper, but a fairly scientific, statistics heavy article, and and this article was talking about, that basically, how do people think, and why is it that some people are just so much more effective, or seem so much more productive? Like, how is it that really high performing people seem so much more productive? Are they actually more productive? Are they actually thinking in a different way? Do they just have more resources to bring to bear? Like, why is it that somebody like Elon Musk can make rocket ships, and other in his 24 hours a day, whereas I can't do that? Why is it that some people seem to just be consistently working on giant projects that are always moving forward, and other people are not? And the author of this article, came to a couple of different conclusions. The one was, well, maybe people who are chronically incredibly productive just consistently overestimate their own productivity, or consistently present themselves that way, which maybe. But the conclusion that she drew in the article was that there's a difference in the way that there's a difference in the way that we act, and that a lot of times people separate the idea of learning about something and the idea of doing something, and that highly effective people learn about something by doing something. They don't waste their time researching something. They do something, and that is the research. And so if they need to learn something, they learn something, but they learn it in a way that they learn only the absolute minimum necessary to do. And so the author made this distinction between people who are learning in their heads and people who are learning in the world, and said that the folks who are learning in the world are the ones who eventually ending up highly productive, highly effective, because the way that they're learning is different. They're learning in a way that is accomplishing something, which also then sets them up for continuing to accomplish other things, which then sets all the momentum in place. So I am direct and you are direct. We communicate clearly and honestly, but let's also today realize that whatever it is that we do, however it is that we spend our day today, that we are setting ourselves up, for all of our tomorrows. And that not only do we need to communicate clearly and honestly with other people, we need to communicate clearly and honestly with ourselves. And not only do we need to communicate clearly and honestly with ourselves, but we also need to make sure that whatever it is that we have purposed to do, that we are doing it in the most direct possible way. That we don't waste our time learning about every single aspect of something that we may or may not ever actually move forward on, instead of moving forward on it. I remember that one of the first times that I ever did internet marketing was probably about 10, 15 years ago now. And I remember that I spent like 2 days obsessing over the font on my sales page, because it had to be perfect. It had to be the perfect font. It had to give off the feelings that I wanted it to feel. It had to have the correct look. It had to have the correct gravitas in order to sell this product that I was selling. And I spent 2 days thinking about the font. You know what I didn't do ever was actually finish the sales page. Why not? I could have just picked Arial Bold and been done with it. I could have just picked a font that was readable and would have showed up on everybody's device just fine. But no, I didn't. I was majoring in the minors. I was very busy. I was very busy trying to. I was very busy working on what I thought was important, or saying, "Well, I have to know everything about this before I can move forward on it." And that's ridiculous. I would have been much better served if I had just used some template and replaced some pictures and put it out on the internet and saw what it did. And that was my own early mistake. And so my not being direct in that case, really, it caused me to just completely waste my time. And I did on that particular project. I probably wasted my time for about 3 months floundering around because, well, there were much more important things to do. I wasn't doing the important things. I was doing the not important things. So this card is, in my world, this card is my rallying cry to make sure that I major in the majors, make sure I make the big things, and let the small things take care of themselves, and not care so much about the font as creating the page, not care so much about the color of the button on the landing page so much as caring about crafting a compelling offer. Because I've learned that when you make a good offer, that people really don't care what the offer looks like. If it's good, it's good. So I am direct. I communicate clearly and honestly, but I also, but I also recognize that it has to do a lot with the way that we think and the way that we act. So let's be direct in our thinking and our acting. And every time that we get lost in this idea that, well, I have to do one thing so that I can do another thing, let's just reconsider and be like, why do I have to do that? Because usually if whenever I get into some thought pattern, well, I have to do one thing so that I can do another thing, the reason is because, well, I need to create some kind of a resource. I need to create more money. I need to create more time. I need to have more knowledge. But the money and the time and the knowledge would come by doing the thing. And the more that I learn that, and the more that I recognize that, the more that I just do the thing. I remember that when I first decided to start doing the wake up call, that I did a whole bunch of research as to, well, what's the right platform to put it on, and how do you how do you reach the largest number of people with something like this? And in the end, I just started to do it, and I learned about what platform works best for me, and I learned about what kind of messaging works best. And you know what I haven't cared about even a little bit was the font. Not even a little bit. Did not think even a tiny amount about what font my comments should show up in. I used one that was readily visible on everybody's computer. I just picked one that was like some Google open source font. It was like, yep, that's the one. Done. So let's be direct today. And let's not get lost in the idea that we have to do one thing in order to do another. I remember I was talking, this was probably 10 years ago. I was talking to somebody, and they were talking about how much that they wanted to be an author. I said, well, what do authors do? And they're like, oh, authors have books, and they sell their books. I said, no, they don't. So authors don't sell their books. That's what booksellers do. That's what publicists do. Like, what do authors do? Well, authors make sure that they've written something good. No, they don't. Authors write. That's what an author does. An author writes. And in that giant pile of writing comes forth a book. Writing is the process of eliminating 90% of the stuff that you wrote. That's the work in writing. Not the writing itself is the easy part. So let's be direct today. Let's communicate clearly and honestly, and let's also communicate clearly and honestly the things that are important for us to do. Let's communicate that we are doing them clearly and honestly with the people around us, because you never know what kind of resources that you have around you until you put it out there that you're doing something. And I have seen this time and time and time again, that somebody puts a little bit of effort into doing something, and then all of a sudden here come their friends and their family and their acquaintances and somebody that they meet on the street has something to do that could help them. And so if we are dedicated to bringing our dreams out into the world and living the absolute best life that we can live, the only way to do that is directly. There's no roundabout way of doing it. We should not start a business because we want to have more time. We should not start one business because we want to have another business. We should not start one charity because we want to have a different charity. What is the most direct way to do it is to do it. And as Lauren says, Nike, just do it. I love their slogan and their swoosh. So I am direct today. You are direct today. We communicate clearly and honestly, but we also act clearly and honestly. We also act directly. And as Eric just said, the resources that we need could be next door, and in many cases they are. So I'm direct today. You are direct today, and let's use this card as our touchstone for reminding ourselves that that the best way to get something done is to just do it, and the best way to convince other people to help us get something done is to just talk about what we're doing. It's that simple. All right, you guys have been fairly active in the chat. Let's see what's let's see what we got over here. So as far as the weekend goes, Lauren said that she went to the beach, had a great dinner on Saturday night, and yesterday met with some Valley folks for drinks. That's great. I'm glad that you had a really fun filled weekend, Lauren. Let's see here. Sean says that the biggest challenge she had as a teacher was being direct as well as sensitive to learning styles. Yeah, I understand that. I think that's a big part of leadership, Shauna, especially when you're in a position of authority like that. It's not just not just teachers who deal with that. Pretty much anybody who is a boss, anybody who has anybody who has people who report to them, and of course we report to other people as well. Everybody who is in any kind of an authority structure, be it a business structure or any type of a chosen structure, educational structure, etc. There's a challenge in how to be direct, how to just let people know exactly what was up, while also being sensitive to their needs, sensitive to their learning styles. And sensitive to learning styles doesn't just mean in a student-teacher capacity. We also have to be sensitive to the learning styles of the people that surround us. How is it that they are going to take our message, and how is it that we can approach our message in such a way that they are actually willing to take action on it instead of putting all their defenses up. Yeah. So let's see here. Oh, Shauna says it's amazing how much this show has developed. So proud of you, Maui Paul. Thank you, Shauna. Let's see. Lauren says we tend to overthink our ideas, talents, and dreams sometimes and miss out on our breakthrough. Well, yeah, I have noticed. Okay, so this is just one thing that I've noticed in life, is that people who are incredibly, incredibly intelligent and talented oftentimes do not use that intellect or talent because they are so intelligent and so talented that they know what all the challenges are before they even get started. Whereas people who are less intelligent or less talented will oftentimes just get started on something having no idea what they're doing and mess it up, and eventually have sufficient experience to be good at it, whatever it may be. I watch it over and over and over again, where people who are very intelligent and very talented tend to talk themselves out of doing things that are good for them, and people who are just not thinking all that much about the ramifications. And I'm not making any character judgments here against people who are intelligent and talented versus not, but I am saying that that sometimes I've noticed that people who do not think things through very thoroughly end up with very, very successful things on their hands. And if they had thought it through more thoroughly, then they probably wouldn't have gotten started in the first place. But they did get started, and that's why they succeeded, is because they started. So this card is our permission slip to start. So start and continue and keep on going and get exactly as educated as necessary in order to do something in the world, and then go from there. All right. So I will return tomorrow at 9 a.m. Thank you guys so much for being here. All right, I appreciate every one of you coming out. So good morning to Janet. Good morning, Lauren. Good morning, Shauna. Good morning, Amanda. Good morning, Eric. It is wonderful to see you guys here today. Good morning. Let's see here. I know knew that a couple other people showed up. Yeah, good morning, Susan. Good morning, Dan, coming in from Omaha. Good to see you here as well. And yeah, just fantastic to see you guys here. Thank you so much for being here. I will return tomorrow at 9 a.m. with another card, another wake up call. And this card today is my permission slip to just continue to make the wake up call better, to continue to just get this message out there more, because this is probably one of my favorite things that I do every single day. So why not do it more? Why not do it better? Why do I have to do one thing in order to do another thing? I don't. I can just do the one thing. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow at 9 a.m. Until then, just a reminder: I love you and that I care about you. And I believe in you, and I am blessed to be surrounded by some very direct people such as yourselves. So let's go out into the world. Let's rock it today. Aloha from paradise.